Audubon 2456.
We are bringing the State of the Save Season 3 to a close today. Thank you for joining us. As always, it is Eric. With me, as always, also Michael. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good.
It is the end of Season 3, which is a weird statement to make, because that means that we done Season 1 and 2 already. I feel old already.
Is this like a dark season finale, like a light season finale? You're going to end on a dramatic cliffhanger before going into the show's fourth season?
Technically, it would be the second season is usually the dark ending, because the third is the beginning of the rise. Also, how long are we thinking this show is going to be brought on? Is this like a 7-season show? Are we MASH? Or are we like a HBO miniseries?
Or are we General Hospital or ER and just go on to the end of time?
I'll tell you right now, we ain't General Hospital. I ain't doing this in my 70s. No, but thank you guys for joining us. This is our list, the updating of the list. We are not the ones who pick the list. The list is already in the stone. We are just the ones who reveal the list.
Yes, exactly.
There is no argument with
We climb up on the mountain for 40 days and then come back with the tablets with the list.
Well, motherfucking Moses.
But with video games.
Yes. I feel sort of like that sometimes in the modern video game world. I feel like the old man coming down the highway would be like, what the fuck happened while I was up there?
Where'd this cow come from?
Yeah, I don't even know where the cow came from. Goddamn kids dolphin diving and bitching about not being able to do it. No. So before we do that, though, let's just, been a few weeks since we last spoke. How is everyone doing out there? See, I like to keep it friendly with the listeners, even though we also try to keep a big distance between us and the listeners. No, let's talk about some video gaming we've been doing over our little break. We were on a holiday break here, at least I am. So I've been playing some video games. Michael, what's some video games you've been playing on your holiday break?
I got some games for Christmas, as you do around Christmas time, and you play games. That's typically how that works. Because I talk a lot on this show about Final Fantasy VII Remake, they made a remake of Crisis Core, the prequel to Final Fantasy VII. So I got the prequel to Final Fantasy VII for the Switch.
How's that going? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm only about like an hour in. The tone is wild. Okay, not wildly different. Let's take the anime slider, and let's just keep all the stuff from Final Fantasy VII, but we take the anime slider and we just move that up the line all the way up to its maximum.
So we're at like an 11, right?
We're at 11. And if Final Fantasy VII proper is like a 7 or 8 on the anime scale, this breaks the anime scale.
Okay. Everyone's got big eyes. Everyone's got blood flying out of their noses.
It's not necessarily that. It's more necessarily like the tone. Final Fantasy VII proper, at least in the remake, has more like, even though there's magic, has, for at least like the opening mission, like a more grounded tone than this. But also, the first part of this game was in VR, so that might have had something to do with the fact that my character just had a million bullets shot at him, and he was just standing as like these elite guards were missing him as he makes like a snarky quip.
Okay,
so
that seems pretty anime.
That's the level of anime we're dealing with. My favorite part of this game so far is the fact that because this is a remake of a 2000s game, they decide, no, we need to keep the technology as it was in 2008. So these elite corporate soldiers all have flip phones as like the peak of technology. This is how they communicate. This is how they turn on and off the VR training.
With a flip phone?
With a flip phone.
Here, let me grab my Nokia over here, and I'll switch off your VR headset.
Yeah, exactly. They literally flip it. Sephiroth is there. Sephiroth's a VR AI. So they're like, all right, you failed. Turn off the presentation. And then they flip it. They flip the button, abort VR, and then they're wearing these like nice, expensive, futuristic headsets. The disparity between like mid-2000s technology and like sci-fi future tech is hilarious to me. Like they thought, yeah, people will still be using flip phones and whatever alternate timeline this is set.
In the defense, as a man who had a flip phone, at the time, it was high tech, man. I could get sports scores on there. You want to know about who's winning in the award series, give me about 20 minutes. It'll load. No, I mean, I do think it's kind of weird. It would be weirder, though, if they actually did update it. And the only thing you're doing is just dating it later on down the line. I mean, it's arrogant to assume that if you put iPhones or something in there in 10 years or 20 years, people will be like, oh, it's still an iPhone. It'll be something different by then anyway.
We'll circle back to flip phones.
Well, they already, that Google, the Google's new, like, it's like almost like a clamshell thing.
The folding screen.
Yeah, it folds. So we're just going back. Life is a circle. Nothing matters. Other than the phone technology, you are enjoying the game.
Yeah, I'll talk more on like the gameplay side as I dive more into it. This is on the PS5 and the PC too, but I wanted the Switch version because I figured since this was a PSP game, it's probably built more for the handheld play. And there's like a small mini hub so far with a mission select with save points everywhere. So this seems more catered to mobile, so I'm glad I'm playing it on there. I lose on like half the frame rate versus the PS5 version, but again, this being a remake of the PSP version, I don't really...
You're not...
Yeah.
You're playing it fairly close to the original.
Yeah, more so than
yeah.
the shiny 4K graphics. They do have some assets lifted from remake, and the main thing they did completely differently from what I understand is they completely changed the UI to match the UI in 7 Remake to kind of give it that cohesion. But what's interesting is that I know Crisis Core is from its nature spoils some of the plot twists that happen in like the later half of Final Fantasy VII. And Final Fantasy VII Remake only covers up through the first like 10-15 hours of the base game.
Okay.
So we're going to be in a situation, I feel like they're at a situation now where they're like, okay, in order to fully get what we're changing and stuff in Final Fantasy VII, you need to have the prequel in the back of your mind, like the information in that. So that way, when we do get to stuff, because Final Fantasy VII Remake, without spoilers, is playing with your expectations of what you think was going to happen in Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it's not a hardcore beat-by-beat remake of 7. It's got some liberties being taken.
Yes, and that all like tie into the story they're telling. The reason it's breaking off the path is not for like artistic liberties and changes. It's for the sake of the story, which is fascinating, and I have a feeling that for like part 2 that comes out in the winter of next year, so either December through February of 2024, I feel like having this game in the back of your mind is going to be important for some of the stuff that they're trying to do.
I mean, obviously they felt it was important enough to do the walk of... Because, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Is Crisis Core a central game for them to remake? Like, I don't think many people were screaming about that one unless it's going to have repercussions in what they're doing in 7.
Which has me very fascinated and why I was like, I need to check this out.
No, I think you're in the right track. I think that there's got to be a good reason why they felt this was necessary to bring this game back and do some walk on it.
Because Mike, you could have waited till after you've done the Final Fantasy VII story to avoid like the spoilers and stuff. But I was like, the fact that you do this now in between makes it seem like you're gonna want to know some of this stuff.
It's gonna play into what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm very fascinated to see where that comes in. Second game I got for Christmas, I got some gift cards and I got something I was fascinated with, Atari 50.
Yeah, you describing that last night to me. It's more than what I thought it was going to be.
Yes. Imagine a video game documentary built as a video game, where everything is laid out in a chronological timeline based on elements of Atari history. Like, here's their arcade history, here's their console history, here's the events leading up to the video game crash and their resurgence in the 1990s. So you have those 4 timelines, and as you go, you're reading all sorts of supplemental material, design documents. There's talking head footage that they got, like documentary footage that's been lifted from like the 1970s, and like interviews with people as they straight up ask them questions like, so the rumors about drugs at Atari, is that true? Or the story about how they put a Pong machine in a bar as a test to see if it would make money, and then the machine wasn't working, so they went there to check, and it was on like a track screen, but no one could put a quarter in. They opened it up and a bunch of quarters fell out. There were too many quarters in the machine, so that's when they realized, oh yeah, this will make money. This will be all right.
It's also you blew past the point in which they claim a couple of people claim to not know anything about the rampant drug use in Atari, which is hilarious because you ever listen like anything about those early Atari days, they were high as a motherfucker.
One of the guys I believe worked on Activision was like, I never seen any drug use at Atari. Hard cut to, we had a hot tub in the office. Cut to another guy who's like, yeah, there was a guy who came in on Fridays with the manila envelope. He was on payroll. No one knew what his job title was.
We didn't know what his job title was, but we knew what his job was. That's hilarious to me that anybody would be stupid enough to sit there and be like, guys, I don't know anything about no drugs. I don't know. Come on, man. It's way past the point they can get you for this shit. Just go ahead and admit it.
It's not just that. It's also a collection of 100 games from Atari's catalog, from all sorts of consoles, their computer days, their arcade days, and like breakdowns of all their major like pinball machines that they did, because they tried to get into pinball for a time. Because like, we have like this computer video game tech we can combine with pinball, and because of that, they needed to hire a new engineer because the early designs caught fire because they weren't compatible. All this electronic equipment on the old arcade board, on the old pinball boards,
just catching on fire constantly.
Stories like that. And what I love is I never been interested in like playing old Atari games because I was like, I don't have the context for this. Like, we joked about how I have like an encyclopedic video game knowledge, but that's only true up to like a point, because anything before like the video game Crash of 83, that's where I'm like the most fuzzy on. So this is kind of filling my gaps on the knowledge. So when I do, because also on the timeline they lay out those games, so once you finally get to Centipede in the arcade and they have all the supplemental on Centipede, you're like, oh, I know the context that this was released in now, and it gives me a fresh enjoyment on those things. And also it goes all the way up to the first official re-release of Atari Jaguar games, which is a nightmare of a system with only a couple decent games on that thing.
I remember the Alien Predator game.
Alien vs. Predator. There. It's not in this collection because of the licensing.
Yeah, but I do remember that being interesting. But that's the only one that comes to mind.
It had the only console port of Doom at the time that John Carmack worked on.
Did John Carmack work on that? Because my understanding is Carmack was doing very little work at that time. Remember they had to take the walls down, man.
Yeah, that was the one console port he worked on, and then all the other console ports were based on the Jaguar version.
I'm just wondering if Carmack actually did any real work or not.
Yes.
I have to go back and read Masters of Doom to see if that's mentioned, but
I think they mentioned the Jaguar in a paragraph there. But it's the fact that those games are now re-released.
I'm like, Carmack,
these are,
oh shit, yeah. No, I'm an idiot. You're saying John Carmack. I'm thinking Romero.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm an idiot. No, yeah.
Carmack was like,
working.
Technology? Cool.
No, yeah, Carmack was working. I'm an idiot. It's been a long day. It's middle of the day, everybody. Cut me a break.
Carmack probably ported Doom.
That's why you were looking at me confused. I was thinking you were talking about Romero. I was like, Romero wasn't doing any fucking work at that point. He was just dicking around. No, Carmack was working. Yes. So they had to take down the walls because John Romero wasn't doing any damn work, and Carmack had to watch them.
So the fact that like Jaguar emulation wasn't great up to this point, so they had to. So the team at Digital Eclipse managed to make a perfect Jaguar emulator for this, to the point where now Jaguar emulation is now 1-to-1 with the console because of this re-release. Is a huge win for game preservation. And if a proponent is like, we have to make sure even the bad games are playable too, because those are good teachable like moments in history. Like, where would we be without learning like how far Atari fell once they got to that point?
Well, and real quick, jumping in here because we do want to get to the list.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Atari games. I'm not old enough to play them when they came out. I'm not that old. I joke I'm old, but I ain't that damn old. But my grandfather had to be well over like 150 Atari games, because he must have picked them all up when they were like dirt cheap after the crash. And he had an Atari in a van. He had a van that had a bed in the back, which sounds a lot more creepier than it's supposed to be. But he had a TV in there with an Atari. And I remember like going camping and shit and playing Atari in there. And so like I don't have any like nostalgia for Atari, per se, but it was a thing I am aware of. But so this collection presents it in a way that makes me actually interested in it.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be interested in just having a list of Atari games and going through and playing them. One, you can just do that on your computer like right now. But then two, most of those games don't actually hold up as something fun to do, to play. It's more the historical context of what they are.
You play for 5-10 minutes and go, oh yeah, I see what they're doing here. Okay, on to the next one.
And you are right. Even things that are not quote unquote good needs to be preserved. Because one, if you want to look at like the history of video games and development, you want that stuff to fill in the timeline in the grand scheme of things. And two, you never quite know what might be important in the future. What might connect somewhere else. It's just important in general.
Like what games had like a great idea but were not properly implemented.
Yeah, you don't know.
Where you can watch that, be inspired, and go, I know how to make this work in today's context.
Yeah. It's important to keep all that preserved. Speaking of games being preserved, the Ninja Turtle collection is what I've been playing, which is given to me by you for Christmas. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And that's all the Game Boy, arcade, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis games that came out for there. And I've been working my way through those. And things I've enjoyed the most is actually the games that are not the beat-em-ups. Because I'm very familiar with those. I've played Turtles in Time. I've played, all those. But going through the Game Boy games, I had the first one, Fall of the Foot, which was the first one. But the second and third Game Boy game, playing through those, seeing reused sprites, seeing like, hey, what changed here, what they're doing with this limited, console here.
The fact that one of those is just like, hey, let's change up the formula. Now it's a Metroidvania with Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I think that's the third one.
Yeah, Manhattan Project?
No, Manhattan Project is the beat 'em up that was exclusive to console. Was Manhattan Project.
That was the third NES?
That was the third NES because it was
Gotcha.
It was the NES port of the arcade game, the NES port of Turtles in Time, and then they got Manhattan Project. I might be confused on the order there. It might be Manhattan Project, then Turtles
There's
in Time.
a lot of Turtles games.
There's a lot of Turtles games.
And renamed Turtles games between consoles.
And a lot of, slight differences there. Mm-hmm. And this has them all. My favorite thing is also it has a lot of that bonus material. It has a lot of the ads for these games, which is very fun to go through and look at all these old ads.
Oh, man.
A lot of design docs and things like that, which is cool. A lot of them are in Japanese, so I can't read them. But it is cool to look at them and see all these sprite design and stuff like that. The strategy guides are all in here, so you can look at the strategy guides. Most of them seem to be from Nintendo Power, but then a couple of them look like they might be from other sources. They're not. I didn't really look for necessarily what magazine it was from, but there was a lot of cool stuff there also of strategy guides and fun stuff like that. It's got a lot of that cool bonus stuff. The kind of hidden gem is that second tournament fighters, the fighting game.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. That's a pretty good little fighting game, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I fiddled around with that for a lot longer than I thought I would. But yeah, I like these collections. You're seeing it a lot now with the Castlevania collections that came out, the Contra collections that came out. It's good to have those games all in one place for fairly affordable prices in a package that makes it more than just a list of games. It adds a little bit of, context to it, and also more of a love letter to all these games.
Considering emulation has got to the point where you can emulate anything anywhere, you need that supplemental material to kind of fill in the gaps of just the games.
Yeah.
To make it more interesting, and you need a great selection of games. So it's all convenient just to have it right here.
Yeah,
and just
make it more convenient make it more interesting and convenient to justify the fact that you're not just emulating the thing.
Than downloading it from an Internet Archive link.
Yeah.
Or how you legally acquire your emulated games.
Well, what you're doing is you're getting a copy.
Yes.
And then you're making a digital copy. So we own all those games.
Yeah, exactly.
Legal. Now, my favorite thing is, like, we're just walking into rakes at this point. Anytime we talk about immolation, just stepping on rakes. And the last thing is I've been playing Inscryption that came out on the Switch.
All right.
Very, very, very much enjoy that game. I don't want to give away too much. It's a good port. I'm glad that it's out now for a console. This game's good. I didn't know it was as roguelike as it is, but it's one of those games that when you do fail, it progresses the overall story, so you don't feel bad about failing.
Like a Hades.
Sort of, yeah. Which I actually went back and played some of that.
I also went back and played some.
Yeah,
Hades.
I played some of that. I went and got all the way back up to the boss fight with the two guys, the Minotaur and the guy with the spear, and they kicked my butt. Those guys are tough, man. That's tough. That's a tough boss fight in that game.
I made it to Hades twice, and every time I get there, I'm like, I can't believe I made it this far, and then just get killed by your dad.
Yeah, he's the final boss, I believe, right?
I think so. I'm almost escaped twice, but he's like, no. Then every time you get back, he just crap talks you.
Yeah, he's just like, hey, how'd that go for you, kid? Get your butt back in your room. Hades is a great video game.
So great. I need to beat it before Hades 2. Otherwise, I'll just feel... Because if I get Hades 2 before it being Hades 1, that feels like an admission of defeat.
Before we jump in the list, what weapon do you use in Hades?
Oh, I jump all over the place depending on what has the XP boost.
I used the bow because that was one of the upgrades you can get for the bow. Gets rid of the power shot, but turns it into like an automatic shot.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Like it's like an automatic, firing, and that can be really, really good in those later stages because the power shot's very good until you start getting spammed by, just like especially that boss fight with the Minotaur and the guy with the spear, where you don't really have a lot of time to stop and take a shot. So the automatic fire, you can just like dash, 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 shoot, 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 dash, 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 shoot, shoot, shoot.
The spear is probably my favorite because I have an ability now where I can throw the spear and hit the button to like charge into some guys. So if you can also like I believe attach an ability onto that from one of the gods, like get a blessing for that. So that once you have like the right abilities with all of that, it just makes you're constantly moving around the arena with that thing, constantly throwing and charging into enemies. It's Hades, good video game.
High quality video game.
We're the first to say it.
Yeah, no one else has ever. Are you guys aware of this like little hidden gem, Hades? I think we'll have a TikTok where we're like, hey, have you heard about this hidden game, Hades?
5 hidden gems for Nintendo Switch.
Motherfuckers are always talking about like top 10 selling games of the year, and they're like, it's a hidden gem. My favorite thing is also Have
you heard of Hollow Knight?
Yeah,
and Cuphead.
Yeah. This fun, whimsical game. Motherfucker, we all know it's whimsical. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what the sad thing is? Shit ton of views on that thing, man. And a ton of people being like, man, Cuphead is good. Like, why is this content? What is this content? What are we doing? What are we doing? My rage knows no bounds.
Jeff Gerstmann has a TikTok, and my favorite thing he's done, he made fun of one of those things. Is like, you'll never heard of this secret code in Contra. Up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right. BA starting to get 30 lives. Crazy. No one knows about this.
And the top comment was some dude being like, man, I wish I would have known about that code when I was a kid. Watch it. Go on there. I bet you that's the top damn comment. Or it's some dude who completely missed the joke and be like, everybody knows this code, bro.
It's probably the latter.
Yeah, it's always one of the two. Just sarcasm has no translation. It's time to get to what we're here to do. The official State of the Save ranking list. Once again, don't get mad at us. We just reveal the list. We're not the ones who make the list. The list is on the stone already. We're just revealing it.
Yes.
The list is infallible. The list is perfect. We have tablets. We're just gonna keep going down this rabbit hole until we sort everybody. But the list is perfect. Don't argue with us. No, say it's official list. Michael, where the list sits right now, would you like to read the official list before we start adding?
From the bottom going up. Number 18, Sonic Adventure 2.
Like I said, the list is perfect and infallible.
17, Dead Space. We just lost some people right there.
Somebody, yeah, we all do.
Number 16.
I also cannot ever say that I might play the remake of Dead Space because I am the guy who put Dead Space on level 17 out of an 18 list. Because I'm like, I can't say like, hey, I think that Dead Space remake looks pretty good. People are like, I thought you fucking hate Dead Space. No, the list is very top heavy. Goddamn, leave me alone.
Number 16, Star Wars Republic Commando. Number 15, Observation. Number 14, Bully. Number 13, Night Trap. Number 12, Grim Fandango. Number 11, No More Heroes. Number 10, Dishonored. Number 9, Alan Wake. Number 8, Sleeping Dogs. Number 7, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Number 6, Bioshock. Number 5, Metal Gear Solid. Number 4, Bastion. Number 3, Undertale. Number 2, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And number 1, the undisputed champion 2 seasons running, Life is Strange.
All right. That's a good list. It's a very top-heavy list. We talk about it all the time. I still wonder how Observation is where it's at. Like, that's a little high in my mind. The list is perfect, so I can't argue with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like the list might have may have messed up on that one.
May have thought highly of something at the time, but then in retrospect, because
in retrospect, probably should have been a little bit lower.
But nothing changes. The
list is perfect.
Yeah,
the list is perfect. To be added to the list, starting with our first game of the year, Control, Firewatch, Psychonauts, Half-Life 2, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Tomb Raider Underworld, Resident Evil 4, Spec Ops The Line, Batman Arkham Asylum, Parasite Eve, Vanquished.
A great list of games.
Great list of games. Lots of interesting things. Best chance I think we've had since season 1 of a new number 1.
Life is Strange, quaking in its boots.
It's fear. It's just fear back there. It's gripping its title hard. But there's multiple big contenders coming forward.
Life is Strange is in the center ring saying, "Who challenges me?"
And then all of a sudden the glass breaks and who comes down? We'll find out. Let's go ahead and get into this. Starting off, I guess we're going to start off with the first game of the year and just walk our way down.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Control. Control is a damn good video game to be starting off the year with.
We talked about before, Control was like the perfect one for the format of this show, in that it had a good main story, but then it had so much lore, world building, interesting logs to where we just wanted to pour into every inch of that game, and talking about the little nuggets of information that we found on our own and the side quests we did made that thing just as much fun to talk about as it was to play. So I think this is on like the upper tier of the list.
It's got to be in the top. I mean, I think it's no doubt top 10. Where would be your basement for Control?
Basement for Control. The lowest I could see Control? The lowest I can see Control is below Metal Gear Solid. Do you want me to say the highest I can see Control?
No, I think we can work with that, because I was going to say it has to be either around Bioshock, which is only one step below that.
Okay.
Because I think Control and Bioshock share a lot of the same...
Very strong sense of place.
Strong sense of place.
A lot to dive into and talk about.
Lots of background lore and background information that's worth diving into. The place is the strongest part of the game, in Bioshock, and the strongest part of Control is the place.
And figuring out the mechanics of that.
Figuring out Rapture and then figuring out the old house is the best parts of those games. So I think let's do this. Let's see this, because let's work our way up from there. I like Metal Gear Solid a whole freaking lot.
Me too.
But Metal Gear Solid, God, I love Metal Gear Solid. But Control I could see Control being above Metal Gear Solid. To be honest with you, I could see Control being above Bastion. I would say Undertale too, but you guys love Undertale a lot more than I do, so I'm not going to necessarily make that argument.
Okay. Where I'm leaning to with Control is the fact that it's the combo of everything that we enjoy. It's the world building, but we didn't even talk about that gameplay. Just ripping a chunk off the wall with your powers and just throwing it at a dude and have him turn to mist will never not be satisfying. All like the weird side quests and stuff in that game.
That's why I think. Sorry about the coughing. That's why I think it's a dead ring. It has to be better than Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is a very well playing video game, but it's very the first step in how Metal Gear Solid will become. You see it kind of progress in 2 and then 3.
Killer story, killer, all that, and this is how I feel based on like the list on like the show. My personal list is very different from this, so I'm kind of playing into that aspect. I think on our list here, I think Control will fit above Bastion, below Undertale, even though I love Undertale and I love Control. Those are two very different games to compare, but the emotional impact that Control had on me and talking about on the show made me... I appreciate Undertale in the context of the show because I don't know if I would have gotten a chance to play it if it wasn't for that. I did play Control before. Does that make sense? Is it good?
I'm not going to argue with you with Undertale because it's well stated that my feelings on Undertale is that game is way low on this list. But in all fairness, I will say I would be happy with it being on new number 4. And that's not a shot at Bastion by any means. I feel like Bastion does a really good. It's a good game. It's a well playing game. It has a good art style, and it's got a good story hit at the end. But it doesn't hang with Control's great gameplay, great world building. And then Control's story,
fantastic characters, and all of the elements in the periphery are making the game stronger.
Yeah,
like the challenge missions in Bastion are fun. They don't tie into like the theming and everything in Control. When we're in Control, I want to dive into every single thing.
Because all the side missions, you didn't know what side mission might lead you into a completely new thing. Like here's a side mission, and then next thing you know, it's led you on this whole wild goose chase. And you're in a completely different department in you don't know.
You just follow the trail and you end up at the restaurant going, the top!
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
And the fact that we're still not done with that world in the context.
Because obviously it's leading into Alan Wake 2, which is going to get it some bonus points.
Yeah, for sure.
How the hell Alan Wake got to 9?
Well, it's not as good as Sleeping Dogs, so...
Well, you're fucking wrong. The list, you're right. Maybe the list isn't. Maybe the list is fallible. This is all a mass analog for a religious journey. Is all this is.
Burn the list. Destroy it. Cast it into the fire.
Heresy. Michael becomes a list purist, and Eric becomes a list heretic on this episode of State of the Same. Yeah, so are we happy with it being the new number 4?
I already wrote it into the list.
Okay. Here's our first big fight. Firewatch. I love Firewatch. I love Firewatch a whole lot.
I feel like Firewatch to me is my Undertale in comparison to you. Maybe not as strongly, but a game that you really connected to and really bonded with, and a game that I came out really liking, but not as much as like some of the top half on this list. I feel like this would be much higher for you.
Yes, personal list. This is right now, barring the other games coming up in this list. This is my top contender.
This number 1? Mm-hmm. Over Life is Strange.
Yes. I need to stop hitting my microphone with my hat, but yes.
Oh boy.
Every time I nod my head, I smack it with my hat. No.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Let's turn this backwards. It's time to get serious. But I know it's not going to go there. because I know, and that's reasonable.
And I knew this was coming, and I knew it's going to be high, and it deservedly so. I think. What's your floor for Firewatch? What's the lowest you're willing to go?
My floor is it's better than BioShock. It goes back to BioShock.
Okay, BioShock. I'm willing to give you, without argument, I'm willing to go all the way up to above Control, below Undertale.
I could do that. In my personal opinion, it's vastly better than Undertale by a mile, and then I do like it better than Resident Evil 7. Maybe you could make the argument with Life is Strange is better, but
because my argument against it being below Undertale was that it was a profoundly, for Firewatch specifically, was a profound experience. The one time through, because I hurt myself enjoying this game as much this time because I have watched a playthrough of it a few years ago, and because of that, it didn't resonate as strongly with me this time, which is my own fault. I concede that, but at the same time, Undertale has so many different paths, so many different points of inflection where it, for me, that it changes the context of moments in the story depending on how you approach that situation, and the multiple endings, and how different conversations play out in different ways depending on how you play that game and everything, which to me makes Undertale a stronger case on this list versus Firewatch. But
I would be okay keeping it under Undertale, because I also know that that we've got a couple games coming up that's going to be top 1, 2, 3 contenders, and I know Firewatch isn't going to stay where it's at right now, but I'm okay with that. If it's under being under Undertale, and then where it ends up, I will be okay with. I'm okay with Firewatch going right under Undertale, because like I said, I have a hard time arguing against Undertale because that game just did not connect with me at all. What Firewatch did, so I'm okay putting Undertale keeping Undertale at 3 and putting Firewatch at the new number 4, which puts Control now at 5.
Okay, I could be a bit more lenient and put Firewatch over Undertale too. I'm not
I think at that point it's just I don't have to have it over Undertale. That's not my place where I'm gonna plant my flag today.
Gotcha. I think we have one game each that we're gonna plant the flag for.
Yeah. So I'm okay. Let's put that as the new number 4, and that puts Control, which was just added to the list, as the new number 5.
Yep.
Psychonauts is an interesting one.
This is a weird one.
Psychonauts is not a top 10 game.
No. We're gonna have to go, I think, to the lower echelon of this list.
How do you feel about? Okay, I want to say it's number 16 now. Bully. How do you feel about Psychonauts compared to Bully?
That's a tough one.
That's why I was looking at that.
So
because above Bully is oddly enough fucking Night Trap, and I can tell you right now, I had a lot of fun playing Night Trap. There was parts of Psychonauts I didn't have fun playing.
Oh man, I think they are almost kindred spirits in a lot of ways, where the ideas behind a lot of those decisions are brilliant, but there is moments where both of those games I think fall flat. And Psychonauts, without a doubt, is definitely the most creative game on this entire list that we played so far, in terms of its creativity per se, and the ideas behind the level design. Not the level design itself, but think about Lungfishopolis and Black Velvetopia and
the list is
Waterloo World.
The list is extremely top heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something that we've talked about a lot. It's why Dead Space being number 17, or now, number 19 on this 20 list, a 21 list, no 20 list right now. Listen, I think Psychonauts as a concept is really, really great. Bully as an execution is a little bit better than Psychonauts.
I agree with that. Because I'm thinking back to a bit, was there a moment I got angry and stuck with Bully? And there wasn't one. There was those moments where I had frustrations with the way it told its story.
Yeah, I didn't. There was some weird stuff in Bully. There was some weird treatment of characters and stuff in Bully. That's probably why it's as low on the list as it is.
Psychonauts grinded me to a halt in two specific moments. One moment was having to exit out of a level to double back to go collecting for 30 minutes just so I can complete a level.
And to go get an item to then collect a bunch of stuff just to go back into a level that originally I was enjoying. That's gotta be what makes it fall. Now, do I think it goes down below the next spot, which is observation? No, because while observation is a very interesting concept, it's not as interesting of a concept as Psychonauts.
I agree with that. The other moment of contention being like climbing that stupid barn at the Waterloo level and just falling off of it over and over again.
Yeah.
For me. So, Bully is above Psychonauts. Psychonauts above Observation. I think where that lies on the list. The new number 17. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I have no issue with that. And it sounds like we're making fun of Psychonauts, and we're not.
Oh.
It's a very good video game. It just has a couple of big fall. The big thing is when you have to do the collectathon to complete the Milkman level, and it doesn't even tell you that is going to be a problem for you until that point in which you're already halfway through the video game. And then there is some execution issues in that game. But like I said, the creativity in it is just through the roof. It's just not as... It doesn't have that... It just has a couple of big shortfalls.
Yeah.
And Bully is a little bit better executed across the board.
I agree with that.
This next one's interesting for me.
Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2 is a revolutionary game. And I was trying to figure out where I wanted to put this. And I was looking at a game. I always look for something that makes me feel similar. How do you feel about Half-Life 2 in relationship to Dishonored?
I think I like Dishonored more. But that's where I was going to end up. That was actually where I was going to suggest to put it. I was going to say below Dishonored, above No More Heroes for Half-Life 2.
I don't think it goes above Dishonored, which would put it near Alan Wake. It's not better. It's not a better game than Alan Wake.
Okay, so the fight is or the discussion rather.
Yeah.
Well, we're civil here. We're formal.
Yeah. Right now.
It might get tooth and nail later on, but right now, so the argument is Half-Life 2 higher or lower
than Dishonored? You feel Dishonored should be higher than Half-Life 2?
Yes.
I will make my pitch. You make your pitch.
Okay.
And then let's come to agreement.
Okay.
Half-Life 2, from a gameplay design point of view, I'm going to take out some of the historical stuff because we're trying to look at these games as we come to them today.
Or in the context of the show itself.
Yeah, of the show itself. I feel like Half-Life 2, it's a perfectly designed shooter with a couple of shortcomings. Some of the buggy stuff and the airboat stuff goes on a little bit too long. But it has some of the tightest gameplay design moments in shooters still to this day. Like some of the stuff still holds up. Ravenholm still holds up.
There was a reason why we discussed it where I'm like, so many games are now retroactively worse now because I know they just ripped off some of what Half-Life 2 did because this was my first time playing it.
Yeah.
And seeing how, it defined the structure of how you do a 10 to 12 hour first-person shooter or action campaign. We talked about moments in, The Last of Us, even, that were ripped from Half-Life 2. I was like, I've done this puzzle before. Where did I place it? And it hit me.
You realize how many people looked at,
you can
little
trace...
simple, little like physics puzzles, like propping up the ramp to be able to drive the buggy and hit it and jump over a wall and stuff like that. That was taken straight from Half-Life 2 in like God knows how many video games went and did that.
The moment at the end where you get the powerful weapon.
The big, get the upgraded gravity gun.
There were other games that we played on this list that ripped Half-Life 2 from that moment.
Yeah. And from a ward design point of view, that's why I think Dishonored is very similar. When you walk out into the city in Dishonored, there's a lot of vibes taken from that, from like a City 17. The oppressive nature, the Striders walking through the city in the distance, the the Combines, suppressing all the people. You have a lot of that same feelings and design that goes into the designs of Dishonored when you're out into the city streets and you see the mechanized walkers walking around and stuff. It's a similar design cadence. I think the thing is also, like Alex, and some of it is historical where she was like as at that time compared to now. It has a lot of just stuff that, man, it became the default way to do a first-person shooter for a decade. Like, hey, you have to do this because that's what Half-Life 2 did. You can't go back and do, you can't go back to a pre-Half-Life 2 ward.
You can't make Duke Nukem Forever.
You can't make Duke Nukem Forever. We're gonna try though. Fucking Randy. But I feel like it's the default for a decade, and then people started having to like break the mold again, and
taking inspiration from it, but breaking it, and that's why I think Titanfall 2's campaign did a lot of that. They took
a lot of inspiration, but then they broke it, and then you see the return to like, instead of looking at Half-Life 2 as how you do a first-person shooter, to going back and looking at more of the retro shooters like Doom, and you see like Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, and then you see games start to look at those and be like, okay, well maybe we can go back to being fast and over the top. Games like even like Shadow Warrior that came out this year was like, that's a Doom Eternal game that looked at Doom 2016 instead of Half-Life. There's not a lot of Half-Life DNA in there. It's a lot of Doom now. And it's just, but for a decade, it was a lot of just Half-Life 2 DNA. It
was Half-Life 2 until it was Modern Warfare.
Yeah, then it was Modern. It was one of the two. You either did Half-Life 2 or you did Modern Warfare, where you were doing the pop and shoot.
Do you have health packs, or do you ever generating health? That was the question.
Yeah, and do you?
They spun off from there.
Do you have puzzles, or do you just have fight down the trench line? In a glorified. It was one of the two. It's kind of good that we're getting away from it because it was getting monotonous for a while. But make your pitch for Dishonored.
My pitch for Dishonored... You made a very strong case for Half-Life 2, by the way. So my pitch for Dishonored was that the fact that there was a moment early on in that game that clicked where I'm like, I can play this entire game almost without touching the ground and just being like high-flying, stealthy, avoiding everything. The fact that like the non-kill options were just as satisfying, if not even more satisfying than the kill run options.
To be honest with you, some of them were more horrific. It was worse to not kill the person that, like, I think about the one of the lady that you bring to
Lady
her,
Boyle,
like,
where you ship her off
with her.
You human traffic a lady.
You human traffic her instead of kill her. And, like, the realization that she doesn't even know this man until he's too far for you to stop him. Like, as he's going down the river, he's like, don't worry, she'll learn to love me once she wakes up. And you're like, oh, wait, what? No.
I thought this was like a hidden romance. Like, oh, gosh.
I thought it was a hidden romance. What do you mean you don't even know?
There was also the bit where I glitched out the game and, like, landed in there as we fell, so I killed her, so we was shipping off with a dead body.
It was a mercy killing at that point.
Right, basically. Oh, man, so...
No, listen, Dishonored is an amazing video game.
I think you convinced me to put Half-Life 2 over it, where I don't feel as strongly arguing for Dishonored now. Because Half-Life 2 was a solid game all the way throughout. Half-Life 2, although I like the first half more, second half of Dishonored kind of loses its way some.
Yeah, I think that, if I remember correctly, I didn't really get back on the Dishonored train until the last assault on the main fortress at the end. Because that was when you were clearing out the last of the your last few targets, but there was some downtime.
Having
there.
a moment in a game where you lose your gear is either the most memorable and best part of the game, or it sucks.
I forgot about that moment till you just said that. That part really sucks in Dishonored. When you lose your gear in Half-Life, they give you the powerful gravity gun. Remember, in both games you lose all your stuff.
That's true.
But in
Half-Life 2.
Dishonored, you have to re-get it one piece at a time. In Half-Life 2, they take away your stuff and they're like, "Oh wait, but we can't process what this thing is. So here's a super powered gravity gun."
All right, I wrote in below Dishonored Half-Life. Oh wait, no. Oh crap, I went the wrong way.
The list, it is fallible. Burn the heretics.
But we agree that Half-Life 2 is not as good as Alan Wake.
No, it's not as good as Alan Wake.
Okay.
People might be like, these guys are blind to their love of Alan Wake. I've played Alan Wake 4 times through. I love Alan Wake every time.
I didn't know you played it more after the show.
Yeah, I've played it more since then.
That's awesome.
I haven't played Alan Wake American Nightmare, but it's been on my hard drive since we played Alan Wake. Think about that for a second.
Oh man.
Let's see here.
Should
I would like to make a pitch.
Okay.
For the sake of the list. Our next game is Metal Gear Solid 2. Then there was Tomb Raider Underworld, and then there was Resident Evil 4.
Should we?
Do we not? We know that Metal Gear Solid 2 and Resident Evil 4 are the fight, correct?
Yeah. Should we just save those?
Do you want to save those two to the end?
Yes. Because
Let's
we
do
know
the rest of them.
Because we know where these are going to go.
They're going up at the top somewhere. That's the fight. Why hide it? You know,
Yeah.
we're rational.
My
men.
my second or third favorite game of all time versus your favorite game of all time.
It's going to be that we're just going to pull those two off the list and get them at the end.
Yeah.
That's
the main event. We tease it throughout the show.
You can't do the main event in the middle and then send out the scrubs at the end.
That's not how you structure it.
That's not how you do a wrestling, Matt. Can y'all tell that we went and watched wrestling last night? Let's see.
Fresh on my mind. Tomb Raider Underworld.
This is an interesting one.
I got a pitch.
Where you want to put this?
Bottom of the list.
Fuck you. It ain't go. Yes, it can go below Dead Space. It ain't going below Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay, I know that. I know that.
Oh,
Tomb Raider Underworld was a game that almost broke me.
Okay, is it below Dead Space?
Yes. Because
Okay.
you know why? Dead Space, for as much as I am on that game, it didn't have a moment that I never wanted to uninstall a game when I was done with it as much as I did Tomb Raider Underworld. And it's not to say it's a bad game. It's a frustrating game.
It's a bad game.
Okay.
But and I'm not even saying that in a mean way. It's a game that ruins a lot of its potential. I wished Tomb Raider Underworld was better than it is.
Yes, same. 'Cause there are moments in that game that I really like. And the fact that it's surrounded by a whole bunch of annoying stuff makes me more angry than not. The fact that this is the only game on us that crashed 5 times.
Yeah, it crashed multiple times. I had to save constantly because I was always afraid of it crashing.
That autosave system was like, you can't save here, this is an autosave slot. But that autosave slot, for some reason, when you die, puts you back 30 minutes. And you're like, what happened?
Yeah, I don't understand that. At that point, we understood save slots. I don't understand, who thought that was a better solution to the problem, other than maybe saving, normal was crashing the game too. Who freaking knows? I'm running this thing on an Xbox Series X, and it's crashing.
Put more RAM behind it, and it shouldn't crash.
It's 4, yes. I don't know what's going on.
Those teraflops aren't doing anything.
They're flopping, all right. God damn.
We're mad again.
No, but listen, I was sitting there do I want to even try to argue about Dead Space? No, Dead Space is a better game than this. It's a shame. Tomb Raider Underworld deserved to have been a better game, but it just isn't.
The fact that we get to the tragic end of Lara Croft's mom, and I felt nothing. I felt zero.
Everything came out of nowhere and nothing mattered. There's an enemy throughout the entire game that gets killed in a cutscene. The evil Lara clone that they build up just dies in a cutscene. And everyone's loyalty jumps back and forth so many damn times. It's like an episode of Gossip Girl.
You do get Thor's hammer and can one-shot dudes. Hey, the combat's fun now.
At the end, it had so much potential. The potential of collecting.
I got the one part that almost broke me was climbing the chain that's going in reverse, and the solution to it is something that was in a tutorial 2 games ago. They didn't feel the need to re-emphasize the fact that you can tap Y.
I had to watch a YouTube video.
I had to go on GameFAQs to figure out what am I doing wrong. It's like, oh, you just tap Y.
And in the YouTube video, the guy's like, this part really got me stuck for a long time because I forgot to tap Y. And that freaking dude didn't remember. And I was like, what am I missing? And then he's like, yeah, I forgot to tap Y. That's how you do it. And I was like, ah! No, listen. And also, the only thing else I have to say is the camera. That game's camera. Yeah, it's so terrible. Yes, Underworld is now below Dead Space.
I will say something good about it. The vehicle sequences were fun.
Vehicle sequences were fun. The concept of a ward-traveling event all linked to assembling the equipment needed for Thor to lift Thor's hammer and dealing with the different Underworld depictions. Thank you. Throughout cultural and how they're all linked to Norse mythology. It was all interesting.
Lara geeking out over every little thing she finds and doing voice recordings was awesome.
All of that stuff was good. Like all of that stuff. That game should have been better than it was. But it's not, so it's below Dead Space.
Is it below Sonic Adventure 2?
No, it is not.
I had a lot more fun with Sonic Adventure 2 than I did.
I did not. Know what the difference is? I still finished Tomb Raider.
And that's going to be the point.
Yeah.
That's going to be it. All right. All right, I'll concede that. Tomb Raider Underworld, the new number 22.
Oh, here's
what did I say early on last year? Something has to go below Dead Space. Now we have 2 things that go below Dead Space.
Congratulations, Dead Space fans. You're moving back up the board. Give us about 3 more seasons. We'll have some more shitty games.
Here's a pitch. Let's play the Dead Space remake, so that way we can have the Dead Space below a Dead Space.
What would happen if the Dead Space remake was in the top 3?
It'd
be the greatest spread of all Dead Space games. Maybe this is the year we play Dead Space 2.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah, I could see that happening. We like our horror games here.
Oh, yeah. Spec Ops The Line. Here's my pitch for where we start talking about Spec Ops The Line. Sleeping Dogs. How do you feel about Spec Ops The Line in relationship to Sleeping Dogs?
Me personally, I like Sleeping Dogs more, but that's just me. I'm in the context of like the game itself and the show, I'm willing to go higher.
Okay, that would put it up next to Metal Gear Solid 3. I personally am not going to argue Spec Ops The Line over Metal Gear Solid 3.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah. You would have fought me on that one.
I would have fought you on that one.
At first I was like, do I make that argument? And then I realized that I would be making an argument that I don't actually mean, because Metal Gear Solid 3 is a great video game.
I feel lucky that you decided to play Metal Gear Solid 3 again this year.
Yeah, I went back. I didn't finish it, just due to time. Mm-hmm. But I played all the way up through the fight with the fear again.
Yeah.
I blew the chance to kill the end, because I was going through doing the stuff to get me achievements. So I did the Ocelot time paradox thing. And then I was going to try to kill the end at the sequence when you come out of the water and you got like half a second to kill him. And I blew it. So I kind of need to go back and do that because I want to kind of get all the different achievements in that game because some of them are really, really neat. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 is very, very good. And I'm not going to say Spec Ops The Line is better than Metal Gear Solid 3. I think they're both very good games, but Metal Gear Solid 3 is a great game.
I love that placement. It's in the top 10 for now. It won't last, but
it's in a good spot.
It deserves to be a top 10 game at least once. Because we didn't talk about it, we just kind of slid it in there. Spec Ops The Line is
shockingly good.
Yes.
If I would have told, I think every time I tell people
what brings it down for me is the gameplay aspect of it, but man, that story that meta commentary and that ending do so much heavy lifting for that thing.
It is one of those games that if I pitch it to you without a lot of context, you go, why are you jamming this generic generic military shooter game in my face and telling me I need to play it? It's the same thing if I picked up a copy of Area 51 Black Site, which was a first-person shooter that came out on the Xbox 360, and I was like, you got to play Area 51 Black Site or Homefront or some game like that, and you're like, I don't think I want to.
But imagine one of those games took you to your core and just made you feel gross and sick.
In all weird ways, though, I came across one of those the gaming stores, like TikToks, was like game stores, and they're like, "What's your most underrated game in the store?" And motherfucker was trying to tell me that Homefront was like the best game in the store.
Okay.
Don't trust that man's opinion on anything.
You know, I'd be willing to hear it out.
No,
I probably
he was like, it was super solid. It was super dark, and we played through. There's a part where you have to fight through Hooters.
Okay.
I was like, this motherfucker has the worst opinion ever. Don't let this man vote.
That's the new literacy test. You walk in and they ask you, how do you feel about Homefront? And if you answer what's Homefront, you're allowed to vote.
Or if you say, oh, I know about Homefront, then you definitely get to vote.
I love that game, sir.
This episode's taking all sorts of twists and turns.
You never know what you're gonna get with Day of the State. That's what makes it a fun show. The fun season 3 finale spectacular.
We're rebooting next season anyway, so does it matter?
We can nuke the show here and be
we
fine.
Just nuke it here.
It's like Final Fantasy 14. The game sucks. Nuke it. Build a new game on top of it.
Data Save 2.0 coming out next season.
But the old stuff is still canon.
Yeah. All canon.
The nuke is canon.
I'm not even sure what all canon is.
I don't know anymore, but Spec Ops: The Line being number 10 is part of the canon.
It's a good game.
I roped it back in.
Batman: Arkham Asylum.
Batman: Arkham Asylum. I like that game.
I'm trying to find something to put it next to.
It's a...
How you feel about it in relationship to Dishonored? I kind of like Dishonored better than Batman.
Yeah.
And that's not something I would have thought when I went into this.
This is a tale of two games where the front half is really good and the back half has some problems. But that being said, Dishonored still had some like really great stuff in the back half. And what saves Dishonored above Batman for me is the ending. The ending of Arkham what saves Dishonored for me is the ending. What spoils Batman for me is kind of that last fight. And how it sucks all of the tension and all of the air out of the room just so you can fight another freaking brute.
We talked about this, that like, boy, the first half of Batman Arkham Asylum is still very, very strong. The second half is really not.
Everybody, if you talk to everybody about what their favorite moments from Arkham Asylum are,
they're all the first part.
They're probably going to be the opening, honestly.
It's the opening, and like the only thing in the second half that was of any real quality is the Croc stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that...
You might mention the Scarecrow stuff.
But even then, I didn't know how long that went on. Because in memory, I was like, oh, it happens like 2 or 3 times. It happens like 4 or 5 times. Like, he just keeps going and going and going. Dishonored does have a weak spot in the lose your equipment section. But...
It comes back around.
It comes back around with that great sequence when you storm the fortress at the end. Like, I remember throwing a grenade to kill the one guy. Like, he's up in the little, like, tower, like, yelling down at the guards, being like, don't let him in here. And you're supposed to walk your way around. And I remember just, like, figuring, I was like, I think I can get a grenade in there. Like, from this, like, rooftop over here. So, like, he's standing there talking, and I just throw a frag grenade into the hole, across the whole yard, and he blows up and dies. I'm like, wow, that was really convenient. And it was like, you cheapened the death. No, the game allowed me to do it, and it didn't stop me. It walked.
And I think of one emergent gameplay point from me, like the captain who steals your equipment. The fact that this still sticks with me is why I really like Dishonored so much. The fact that I was right behind him, he didn't see me, and I could kill him, but there was an option to just take his coin purse. So I just took his coin purse. Just to, in my mind, just be like, yeah, I saw you. I could have. But you're not worth it. You mean nothing to me. You betrayed me. You left me for dead. You took my stuff from me. You betrayed me twice. I don't care about you.
You are so insignificant in the grand scheme of things. You're not even worth killing. But also, like the twist of the betrayal, the party sequence when you're walking around the party and you're trying to figure out which one of the masks are the target.
Oh, the Hitman level that comes
It's
out.
the Hitman level.
The fact that you have the betrayal sequence, but you're in a familiar space, but all the people that you were with are now trying to kill you.
I feel like there's no way.
Except for the cool doctor bros who hang out.
I feel like there's no way Batman goes above Dishonored.
Sadly, I thought this would I thought this would go a completely different way.
Oh yeah, I thought it'd be in like top 10 for sure. How do you feel about No More Heroes?
I like Batman Arkham Asylum above No More Heroes.
Agreed. I'm a little bit. Yeah, I can't make an argument for No More Heroes. It's got to be just No More Heroes than Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's where we're putting it.
I'm happy with that. Next.
Parasite Eve. This is a weird one. How do you feel about Parasite Eve in relationship to Grim Fandango? You can say higher, you can say lower.
I like Grim Fandango more. Okay.
Here we go, though. No, I'm okay with that, because then we have to have the conversation about how do you feel about Parasite Eve in relationship to Night Trap.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Parasite Eve, see, here's the thing. Parasite Eve and Grim Fandango are two games that relate so much to each other because I want them to be higher on this list than they will inevitably end up being. Parasite Eve suffers from Grim Fandango being like, this is an old game. This has some old game trappings, but man, once it fires on all cylinders and you see what's special about it, it's really freaking good. Only one game will give me the satisfaction of having a cutscene where helicopters are flying in a line and they're all catching on fire, and you blow up the Statue of Liberty and fight a multi-stage RPG boss fight in the foot of a bleeding Statue of Liberty.
You do also have a moment in which you fight a boss on top of a carriage being ran by a bunch of horses that are caught on fire in Parasite Eve.
Yeah.
That's the end of the Central Park sequence. Like,
that's a game when it's firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
It is freaking great. But
Grim Fandango, though, has some of the best character work on this list.
It is, which is why I'm going to say I think Grim Fandango should be higher than Parasite Eve. But in the end, they should both be higher. But who am I to argue with the perfect list?
You can't argue with the perfect list. Or, no, wait, so you're the purist. I'm the one who's a heretic.
Yeah.
The list is a lie. No. Okay, then it falls into Parasite Eve and Night Trap.
I do not want this to go below Night Trap. I do not want this to go. I love Night Trap. No, I can't.
Hey, Eddie.
Bye, Eddie.
Bye, Eddie. Let me know when you want to die, Eddie.
Oh, jeez.
How's that feel now? What do you think about
Only
it now?
one game has a musical number
Night
with
Trap.
vampires. Oh, my God.
And when you cut to it just at the perfect time for her to point in the camera and be like, Night Trap.
So Night Trap's number one on this list.
It's
what you're
pretty
saying.
good. Pretty good.
Okay.
The fact that we put
I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but yeah, Night Trap. Oh God,
I don't think we can do that. Let's put it above Night Trap.
Because Parasite Eve is.
Parasite Eve has a lot of good stuff. It is a PlayStation 1 RPG that was trying to do some really original stuff.
It is an underrated gem that I think everyone interested in the PS1 and horror games especially should play. If you're a fan of RPGs and horror, you need to check out Parasite Eve.
Yes. I think, yes. So.
I don't know if no, I don't. I couldn't sleep at night, but this point.
I think it's 100%. It has to be above that.
But yeah, Night Trap Grim Fandango and Parasite Eve are games I see kindred spirits, where I'm like, if you just fix like 2 or 3 of these issues, we'd be singing a completely different tale. We'd be much higher. We'd be in the happy top of the list land. But we're in the weird mix of like games that do a lot of good things well, but falter in some aspects.
So Night Trap is below. Parasite Eve. I
the
feel
fact
like that's
that
a good
get a
spot.
glitch at the end of the game that made the last cutscene play in black probably puts Grim Fandango above Parasite Eve.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I was going to make an argument for Grim Fandango.
Yeah.
Vanquish.
Oh man.
How do you feel about that in relationship to No More Heroes? They feel very similar to me.
Higher than No More Heroes.
How do you feel it in relationship to...
Arkham Asylum is next.
I think Arkham Asylum's better than Vanquish.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I agree with that.
You good with Arkham Asylum being right above Vanquish?
I'm good Arkham Asylum being above Vanquish, because
Batman,
that's
Arkham Asylum's highs.
That's another half and half game for us, but what's interesting is our halves were different. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, man, about the first half, but the second half I loved. You loved the first half, and then the second half you were kind of iffy on. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good middle ground.
I feel like no matter where No More Heroes is, that's like the line of just the perfectly serviceable. That was fun game.
All right.
Like, it's time.
Metal Gear Solid 2 and Resident Evil 4. Let's go ahead and establish something real quick.
Yes.
Because Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of your favorite games of all time. Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game. Are you going to make an argument for Metal Gear Solid 2 to be above Life is Strange?
Yes.
I'm going to make an argument for Resident Evil 4 to be above Life is Strange. Are you okay with going ahead and assuming both of those games will end up as either number 1 or number 2?
I would say yes to that, because Resident Evil 4 in my mind, I like it more than Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. When it comes to Life is Strange is a interesting one, but because it's so high, that's definitely at least a number 2.
Okay. So how about this? I'm okay with that because they're both great video games. Would you like to make your pitch for Metal Gear Solid 2? And then I make my pitch for Resident Evil 4.
We'll do our speeches, and we'll see where we end up falling.
Exactly.
And if we have to continue deliberating past that, that'll be...
Yeah.
All right. Metal Gear Solid 2 is a game that is, I think, the best game we played for the show. And because of the limitations of this show in terms of like hour count and the fact how we structure this thing, it might be the best game we ever played for this show. And I mean that because the game, especially a game that's for like 2001 on the PlayStation 2, does so much well. It's a game that could have fallen into the category of a tech demo, but the fact that it was a near launch title for the thing, and it was still surpassing... No, we're not supposed to say too much historical context in this, but look at the game on its own. But the fact that it still competes on the looking basis, how it runs, how it plays, and the storytelling compete with games that are coming out to this very day.
I said that I thought the enemy AI is better than most games are today.
Exactly. Like a point at the beginning of the game where an AI was tracking my footsteps all the way back to a locker was still freaking great. Playing on a hard difficulty making me change up my strategies and everything. The gameplay being like an elevation of like Metal Gear Solid 1's kind of 2D perspective, but giving you an additional layer with the first person camera, where using that to like look around your environments and using that in smart ways, like using it to search specifically for like during the bomb minigame, the bomb mission where you have to like search the environment for stuff. It uses like using the radar, the 2D radar combined with the 3D environment space was like where I think it took the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid and add like an additional layer and stuff to that. And now the fact that the game is a bold risk-taking game, that this could have all fallen on its face from the very beginning with the fact that, hey, we're going to tease you for the first hour and a half to make you play as Snake. We're going to rip that away from you. And we're actively going to try to make you hate this thing. We're going to make you angry at this game. Is something that on paper should not have worked. I'm surprised it's made it through the ringer of going, what are you doing? You can't do this. If we're going to get skewered, no, we can't do something like this. Like take away the hero, making you play as a character that the game actively mocks you for playing. And then the payoff of that coming hours later when you realize that character you hate, that's you. The reveal of like the dog tags at the end game having your markings on them. And that tying into like this meta narrative about control being shaped by your media, and is that a bad thing? Is it our way of dealing with the world around us? And the fact that all of the villains of that game are super interesting philosophically, to the point where I could talk about Solidus Snake all day, to the point where he's trying to save the American people, where you question, is he kind of the good guy in the end, saving us from like total control? But then you listen to the AI's argument, where it's like, we can't leave every single person on this planet with a megaphone. There has to be censorship. There has to be a way to mitigate that stuff. And you're not smart enough to, with your biases, to make that decision on your own, so we're going to take that choice away from you. It sucks, but hey, someone has to do it. You can't be in control of this massive wave of information and decide for yourself what's true or what not, because that's inevitably going to lead to your downfall. And then to have the hero of the game come and be like, it's not just about information, it's about the traits and the art that we pass on, the stuff we learn, the stuff we communicate, the stories we tell. And the fact that it does all of this as the main theme of the game that ties in throughout the entire thing, that it's a game kind of like where it sits with Bastion, where it doesn't click until the very end of that game, where you realize all of the pieces of the puzzle are, once they're put together, you can step back and look at this beautiful amalgamation of a video game. That the fact that it's one of my favorite pieces of media out there, with what it achieves and what it does and what it tells, as well as being like a really fun game with really like fun bits in it, especially like I know it was like you guys were iffy on it from the very beginning, but Ocelot and Liquid Snake kind of merging, but then turning that to a fun bit at the end, with Ocelot just betraying everybody at the end of that thing, and Liquid Snake coming back for one last like dramatic speech before taking Metal Gear Ray, saying like surfing and jumping in the water is so freaking great. Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I think it deserves to be number one on this list because of everything I mentioned, and that's my pitch for why Metal Gear Solid 2 is the best game that we played and maybe ever will play.
Before I go into Resident Evil 4, because both of these are amazing video games.
Yes, for sure.
Metal Gear Solid 2 is an amazing video game. It's you can't argue that fact. I'm not going to sit here and try to argue against that. It's a great game. The balls of what they pulled off there is insane from a story point of view. It pays off in the end, even though there's points throughout the process in which you do dislike everybody, because you're like, I don't want to play as this whiny guy. I want to play as Snake. Why is Rose here? Why is Rose a pain in my ass?
Why is the Colonel not recognize Snake?
Why is the Colonel weird?
This is a little bit too similar to the first game.
This is like a direct rip-off of the first game, like intentional, from the whole concept of like the stealth entry where you go in through the water, you gotta wait for the elevator, all that stuff is just the first game.
Way too many tutorials, and then all of that having...
Why am I doing tutorials after doing this the mission on the Tangle? What the hell?
And then all of that having a purpose in the context of the story and making that translate into the gameplay is something that...
And a look at the war that was coming that was so scarily accurate. Kojima was thinking about things... This came out in 2001, right?
Yep.
In 2001, Kojima was thinking about problems that most of us would probably not start thinking about until like late 2017, 18, 16, 15, most, where we'll like, the concept of like, if you give everybody in the world a megaphone, what does that mean? How are you going to tell the truth when everyone's screaming at the top of their lungs what they believe?
And not only that, but the AI specifically saying you're going to go to your own little corners and believe,
lock yourself in your own little...
Believe your echo chamber and no one else around you, to the point where you are right, everyone else is wrong.
The concept that it straight up talks about that. In a world today where we live in a world where people literally are locked in a world where they just hear the things they want to hear, and they hear how everyone that's outside of their echo chamber is evil, and
the Earth is flat. NASA's been lying to us since 1960.
And if you believe that, you will be in an echo chamber where everybody on your Facebook page will tell you that the Earth is flat, Everyone in your Twitter feed will tell you that the Earth is flat. All the ads for stuff that is going to be served to you are things that support your belief that the Earth is flat. And the fact that Kojima is thinking about that problem in the year 2001, which I'm sure other people were too, but
I mean, he got his he was a very well-read man.
he's a well-read man, but also the fact that he was putting it in what was a mainstream product. I mean, it's the sequel to Metal Gear Solid. It's a big name game. Is amazing and scarily accurate. So I'm not going to take that away at all. I'm not going to also stand here and try to badmouth Metal Gear Solid 2. But I will make my pitch for why Resident Evil 4 should be at the top of this list. Resident Evil 4 is not trying to appeal to this list as from a philosophy point of view. It's not. Let's be honest with ourselves. Metal Gear Solid 2 is a game that presents some interesting ideas. Resident Evil 4 is not trying to do that. Resident Evil 4, though, is one of the best examples of a video game you will ever find. From having, in my mind, the definitive intro to a video game. One of the best first 20 minutes in games. It has the variety that this video game does. From the experiences in the villages and all the village stuff, trying to find Ashley, to the massive castle sequence, to the island sequence at the end. There's so much distinct and unique stuff that you're going to come across in Resident Evil 4, sometimes for as small as 5 minutes, if not less. The game never stops throwing those weird, unique moments at you throughout the entire experience. It presents to you a control scheme that shouldn't work. It's tank controls in third person. And yet, I have a hard time knowing how this game would even function without that control scheme. Because once you're in it, it plays that limitation off so well. Because by having to stop, to take aim, to shoot, by being less mobile, it makes these fights in close quarters vastly more difficult, and it makes the enemies vastly more scary. Because they're closing on you quick, and you don't have the mobility just to walk step backwards and shoot. You have to choose, am I going to get away, or am I going to engage? It has this weird mixture between horror and body horror and comedy that it hits. Like I talk about Leon Kennedy being... There's a reason why Leon Kennedy is one of my favorite video game characters, and it's Resident Evil 4. The dude's is... No matter what is happening in the world around Leon Kennedy is consistently at just a mild annoyance at best. And because of that, no matter how horrific things are happening, Leon Kennedy takes everything within stride. And he is consistent in that, and therefore his character works. No matter how ridiculous things are getting, Leon Kennedy is just there to get the job done. There is a laundry list of moments that in other video games would be my favorite moment from that game. In Resident Evil 4, it's just another day in the office. You know, from the fights with the giants, where you're having to jump up on top of them and hacking at their tentacle arms, busting out of their bodies and dodging them, crushing buildings, to, you know, inside the castle when you're being attacked by the blind knife enemies and you're shooting bells to, you know, draw them away from you, to, you know, the boat sequence where you're fighting the creature under the lake and you're throwing, you know, spears at it and it's popping up and knocking you off the boat. All that stuff would be my favorite video game moment of the year. And in Resident Evil 4, it's just another 20 minutes. It's just a constant barrage of high quality gameplay moments. It's one of those things that if you want to, like, what are video games? Resident Evil 4 is a video game. And it's just that amazing. it's the amazing quality and how much it's held up. Visually, it still looks great today.
There's a reason they keep re-releasing it.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks great today. You know, it's getting a remake, and I'm through the roof on that remake. But that game doesn't necessarily have to have a remake to be playable. You can play Resident Evil 4 right now. It looks great. You talk about from an AI point of view, I bragged about Metal Gear Solid 2. But Resident Evil 4's AI is still pretty damn good to this day. Like, I think about, like, the siege in the village when they're throwing the ladders up. And a lot of that is tricks that they do to make it look better than it is. Mm-hmm. By having sequences where ladders are breaking through windows and the doors are being broken in. The attack on the little village, the little hut that you and Lewis and Ashley hold up in, where they're busting in all the windows and you're pushing stuff in front of it. It's just...
But even though they're tricks, they're still deliberate. That's a deliberate choice.
Yeah, it's a deliberate choice.
To amp up the tension. It's only when you like go back, and Resident Evil 4 is a fascinating game to look at like boundary breaks for, because so all out of the tricks they like pull off are like incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
And the fact that like the AI does exist on like a secret sliding scale. It's like, hey, you're struggling. Well, we'll give you a break a little bit.
Yeah. If you perform well, you receive less ammunition. You receive, the enemies are a lot more difficult. If you're performing not as well, they're going to give you a little bit of boost with ammo, and they're going to also, I want to say, like, there's less likely for the head stalks to bust out, and like stuff like that kicks into play depending on how well you're playing and stuff like that. That game, it's like I said, it's just fundamentally one of the greatest video games of all time. And it gets to a weird argument point where you have to start like comparing these two and talking about shortcomings, which is hard to do when you're talking about two amazing video games.
Yeah, let's set the ground. The shortcomings that we're going to be talking about do not take away from the fact that we both think these games are
I'm gonna talk some shortcomings on Metal Gear Solid 2. It does not mean Metal Gear Solid 2 is by any means of the imagination a bad video game. If you took Resident Evil 4 out of the conversation today, we would just say Metal Gear Solid 2 is the best game on the list right now. And I would make an argument that probably Resident Evil 4 would be in the running for it if we didn't have Metal Gear Solid 2. It just gets to, we got to compare these two, and then we're going to have to talk about some shortcomings. What do you feel sets Metal Gear Solid 2 apart from Resident Evil 4? What's some shortcomings that would put Resident Evil 4 under Metal Gear Solid 2?
I think the last chapter in the island is kind of the sore spot of Resident Evil 4. That's when it starts to feel like it's dragging, and you get to a point where you're like, I kind of want this to wrap up and end here, because you get to a point where that's where the long development time for Resident Evil 4 starts to show its head. Like, you get the island, but it's like they mismatched 3 different areas on top of each other. The island, like the secret lab, the oil refinery. Every 10 minutes, like the castle still had like all its like crazy stuff in there for sure, but it was still a castle. It still felt like it was a part of the same connected place. The island at the end does not feel like that. And I feel like it's the weakest part of that game because of that. There's still some great moments in that section for sure. I love the Krauser boss fight, and we'll defend that boss fight till I die. But I just think like the pacing of that last bit kind of is the weakest part of that game.
I agree with that. I'm not going to argue with that. I think there was some extremely high highs in that last part.
The regenerator enemies. The fact that the best enemy they reveal at the end of that game.
Also, an enemy that in a lot of games is my least favorite kind of enemy. In Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorites. Like, with the realization that once you learn that you can get the infrared scope, and that tells you that you can aim and see the parasites inside the body. So instead of just wasting ammunition on trying to keep them away from you, you can take the accurate shots to hit the...
It changes up the tension a different way. Where instead of like just mowing down ammo, trying to get it away from you, now you're aiming for the specific thoughts as it's slowly walking towards you. It changes up the tension in a way where it's still a terrifying enemy, and you have an advantage, but you gotta know what you're doing.
And also, like, that means, yeah, you can know where it's at, but do you have the ammunition to waste on that enemy right now? Because you might only have 3 shots and those 4 parasites. You know, it just adds so much tension to those enemies, and they're still a problem. Even once you have a method to take them down, doesn't take away the fact that there's still a threat.
There's great moments fighting it where you do have those 3 shots, but you look at it with the infrared scope and then switch to something like your pistol, and you're like, I think it's here.
Yeah, and the fact that walks, it doesn't require the sniper rifle to hit those things.
You just need to know where the parasites are.
You just need to know where they're at. It's great. But it is the most disjointed of that game. The game gets. I would make the argument against Metal Gear Solid 2 that while Metal Gear Solid 2's gimmick, and that sounds dismissive, but it's not, pays off at the end, there is some really long points in which it becomes kind of grating. I think primarily with characters like Rose and stuff like that, where Rose is just going on and on and on, and Raiden is going on and on and on about, do you not remember what today is for Raiden? No, why don't you tell me? You'll figure it out.
Godzilla.
And that pays off at the end. But goddamn, there's some points in which it can make you really disconnect from the story in points because you're like, I'm so damn sick and tired of hearing about what day it is. And it's heavy-handed to prove the point at the end, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there is some points throughout that game which it really is a struggle to get through some of that dialogue.
I do agree that you could probably cut some of that stuff and have the ending bit
still connect
just the same.
Not necessarily
you need some
the
of
stuff
it.
with you need some of it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't cut anything with the Colonel and stuff like that because a lot of that is necessary, and that hints to the story at the end with the stuff like the Colonel not instantly recognizing Snake and stuff like that.
He's not a factor in the simulation.
Yeah, all that stuff, you got to have that because it makes the ending make sense. But there is some issues there. I would also make the argument that the Dead Cell is my least favorite of the boss groups of the games we've played.
I agree with that. They're the most interesting philosophically.
Vamp is very unique and interesting as a character. His boss fights are fine. Fat Man is interesting as a character, but
yeah, that's fair.
And then Fortune is the most interesting from a philosophy point of view, but her boss fights are the least interesting of all of them.
The solidest Snake, I think, is.
You compare them to Foxhound, and you compare them to Cobra.
They don't stand.
Boss
fights especially. Well, the boss fight with Solidus notwithstanding, because that's a really fun sword fight.
Solidus is the best boss fight in the game.
He's the best villain in that game. Maybe barring Ocelot, maybe, but he has a lot more going on.
He's better than anybody else. I guess you would consider Olga as a boss.
If we did an award show, I think the best villain category would be just best Metal Gear Solid 2 villain because they're all super fascinating here.
Yeah, but I'm talking about it from like a gameplay point of view.
True.
Necessarily, like you compare that to the boss fights you get even in Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid's boss fights are my favorite in the whole series
because you get the Sniper Wolf fight, you get the really even the basic fight with Ocelot at the beginning where he's ricocheting the bullets in the square.
They're all fascinating from a gameplay point of view.
Across because of the explosive devices.
The downfall with Metal Gear Solid 2's boss fights, which might be the nail in the coffin here, is the fact that it relies so heavily on that first person mode. Because that's the thing. Every boss fight, with the exception of, surprise, surprise, the best boss fights in the game, don't rely on that first person mode.
Because the Olga fight is a shootout across the pipe there, so
which does use the first person.
Yeah, because you have to take aim, especially when she's hiding behind like where the sheet is. Mm-hmm. You have to shoot like through the sheet or shoot the sheet off to shoot her.
Fat Man, one of the best boss fights in that game, doesn't necessarily rely on that first person mode. It does for the bombs, but you know how to use it at that point.
Yeah, at that point you already got it. Does the Vamp fight really require the
because he goes on the upper rafters where you have to shoot
and
and he goes down below where you have to aim while he's like in the the sediment pool.
Well, you throw a grenade in there.
You do to like lower it, but you didn't even be able to track him and where he's going to pop up.
Yeah.
Too, so that relies heavily. The Vamp fight I think is my least favorite fight in that game, but
Fortune's fight is just a holdout.
It's a story fight. It's not.
It's not really a boss fight. Then you have the fight at the end against all the Metal Gears with the Stinger missiles, but that's more of a first-person shooting, almost a shooting gallery at that point.
Bullet hell sort of thing.
Yeah,
dodging.
just firing the stingers left and right. It's very...
But that's what the boss fight, the equivalent in Metal Gear Solid 1 was like.
Yeah,
too.
it was like that. You just shot the rockets at Rex.
This one's a lot more faster because you have to deal with like a whole fleet of them.
Yeah, there's a ton of them.
And that's at the point where the stakes feel great on that moment, the Ray fight, because like the whole confusion about the ending and where, because we didn't even talk about the point where it does like the Spec Ops the Line thing almost even before that, where your sense of reality is deteriorating and elements in the environment such as the target ring and like some of the boss fights, the fact that characters are appealing out of nowhere, parts that do not make sense from a logical point of view, but then that pretty much goes away after like that bit there, the point where you're most questioning reality, where even like there's what appears to be glitches, but it's just like the fish and mailed stuff, getting the mission fail screen while you're still active.
While you're still fighting, the whole sequence where the Colonel breaks apart, you know. Just
I need scissors, 61.
Yeah, just falling apart into like chaos.
I think what puts Metal Gear Solid 2 above Resident Evil 4 is because it takes Resident Evil 4 is definitely a better playing video game, but I think Metal Gear Solid 2 takes all aspects of the video game medium and makes it the fact that it takes all elements of the video game medium to tell something so prosthetic while still also being a great video game is what I think puts it over the top for me. But I will say, because we didn't mention it, 1 point against Metal Gear Solid 2, I'm going to offer this up. The Otacon bit that everyone forgets is in the game until you play it again and then go, oh no, this thing.
The Otacon stuff where he's...
I don't want to get into all that.
Yeah, that stuff is...
The layering of the trauma is almost comedic, and the fact that Nick wrote, I hate this game now, 10 minutes later, okay, I'm back on board. The fact that it's literally 10 minutes of just like, why?
It's so unnecessary. It doesn't bring anything to Otacon. It doesn't bring anything to his sister. His sister is really an afterthought if you think about it. Like, his sister's just there as a plot device. That Otacon stuff does hurt. And listen, I mean, like, Resident Evil 4 is not, from a character point of view, I mean, you got, like, the Lewis stuff where he comes and disappears and dies with no real... I mean, Lewis shows up, he's notorious, I talk about it all the time, he walks in to the scene. Hey, what's up, everybody? Forgot that antidote. I dropped it back there. See you in a little bit. And runs off. And it's like, why is he even here?
What was the point of that cutscene? There was 0 point of that cutscene.
Yeah, what is the point of this cutscene?
But at the same time, I love that cutscene.
It goes back to that Resident Evil 4 plays so fast and loose with its seriousness.
That even the dumb bits, I love.
I mean, come on. Like my favorite line in that game is where everybody's going. Bingo?
Well, that game is so probably the most quotable video game in human existence.
It's got so many moments. Like, when you walk in, he just, like, you have the villain speech kicking in, and Leon's just like, screw this, and throws a knife in his hand. It's just like, I'm sick and tired of listening to villain speech.
And him going, ah! And the fact that I can't wait to see how they do every single one of those moments in the remake has me, like, super pumped for that thing.
Scenes, like... when you're fighting to defend Ashley from above, and she's got, like, you know, she's trying to get through doors and using your sniper rifle to take out cultists as they try to grab her. Just little moments like, hey, I'm walking down the road, and here comes a truck. Shoot the truck before you get ran over. Walking down a path. They pushed a giant rock at me. Run! Like, and it's just those quick little constant barrage of like cool moment. Hey man, you want to have a fight with a commando in some ruins?
Yes.
Well, that seems like a weird thing in this survival horror game. Shut up, let's do it. hey man, you want to fight some knights that have parasites in them, so you have to shoot their helmets off and break the knight's armor apart?
All the extra modes that you want to lock upon completing the game. The fact that the game's more fun after completing it because you can just run around with like the suit of armor.
Yeah, you can get Ashley the suit of armor, so you don't have to worry about Ashley anymore. She's
the mercenaries mode is still king to this day, and the fact the iterations on it are still freaking great.
The fact that they never hit this high point again in the series until 7 comes back around. I'm talking about 5 and 6.
Okay.
Like 7 gets them back on track.
That's my point. Resident Evil 4 ruined Resident Evil. There we go.
No,
Metal Gear
Resident
Solid
Evil
2.
5.
Metal Gear Solid 2
No.
made Metal Gear Solid better.
Metal Gear Solid Survive. Don't act like you don't have no bad games in that freaking...
What game are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. There's some stinkers in your...
What happens between 4 and 7? That's weird that they skipped all those.
Yeah. You know what?
Okay, fair. Okay, we can't bring that point.
Yeah, wanna go down this rabbit hole?
Okay, no. Okay, we have to stop that there. We have to take the games in the context. Not
Yeah.
what they think the better games this year. You got me. Darn.
God damn.
It's like, I gotcha.
You got shit. Chris Redfield ruined Resident Evil. Showing up, doing his punching rocks and firing RPGs that he... Yeah, God. Resident Evil 5.
Anyway.
I think I got that day one. I was so excited. I
wasn't really accentuating the argument. I just wanted
No.
to Oh, man.
All right, we got to make a choice here. I'm not upset with Metal Gear Solid 2 being here.
I'm not. Oh, no, we're going to go the opposite way now because I'm like, I'm not upset with Resident Evil 4 taking it either. The downside is these two would be a killer undefeated tag team, but someone's got to walk away with the title.
Here's the question. This goes back to the Grim Fandango argument. Metal Gear Solid 2 has a better story, but is it a better video game than Resident Evil 4?
At the end of the day, as a video game, I think Resident Evil 4
I think Resident Evil 4 is a better video game. I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is a better piece of media. I'm not even going to say story, piece of media, because you have to have the gameplay stuff in Metal Gear Solid 2 for the story to work.
Mm-hmm.
But then that makes the argument is the story part of the gameplay. Which in most games I wouldn't say that, but in Metal Gear Solid 2 it kind of is, because you kind of have to have the gameplay the way it is to have the story hit.
Mm-hmm. This is the hardest choice ever.
I'm
happy with either.
I'm actually going to say Metal Gear Solid 2 should be number 1. And here's the reason why. Because the gameplay is interlinked with the story, and I cannot deny that Metal Gear Solid 2's story is better than Resident Evil 4, I will give you Metal Gear Solid 2 as number 1. Because, and you can't separate the two, because at first I was like, yeah, but the story, we go by gameplay heavy, a lot of times, because that's the Grim Fandango argument, which is we enjoyed everything except playing that game. And my argument has always been that Resident Evil 4 plays better than Metal Gear Solid 2.
And Bastion and story playing, even though the gameplay is really tight, the story is what makes that game. They're both so tight. Metal Gear Solid,
the story has to have the game in there to work.
And there's so many bits where the story it combines the best elements of several games we played, like how in Spec Ops: The Line the best moments of the story are the moments you play. Metal Gear Solid 2 has has moments like that where you're on the bridge and you're trying to shoot you have to shoot Vamp, and also it's a really intense moment of the story, and where she does fall in the river stabbed.
Scene where you're shooting to cover her and Vamp.
It's intense from a story perspective and a gameplay perspective from that point.
And you still have the gameplay sequence of sniping at Vamp to try to stop Vamp.
And the fact that the entire end tells so much story-wise, just from the environment and everything, and how this could have been a recreation gameplay-wise of Metal Gear Solid 1, and even that is super tied into the story, and what it says about sequels and the medium as a whole is...
The sequence of Snake. The reveal that the Patriots have been dead.
Yeah.
I just threw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
There was no spoiler warning in front of that.
Well,
But,
Listen, we spoiled
but
everything else.
that reveal at the end, and the fact that you can kind of put it together ahead of time.
All the clues are there. It's like a really good mystery. All the clues are there. It's like
the fact that you reveal that the Patriots are dead at the end. It's not 100% great because there's the stuff like Olga's baby kind of goes off the rails. I think we give it to Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay.
It's a tough fight.
I'm good with that. That was my argument.
And Resident
here.
Evil 4 falls into second.
It's a great fight. Match of the night.
That does put Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 4 back to back. But
no, because it's above Life is Strange.
oh yeah. Okay, so Life is changes between those. So okay, I'm okay with that. Number 1 is Metal Gear Solid 2. Number 2 is Resident Evil 4. I can live with that decision. What is the list?
Honey, I'm typing this out.
Okay.
I didn't have it
No.
prepared as we were arguing this time because this really came down to the last.
It could go either way. These are two heavy hitting.
And in the end, because we discussed it, I'd be happy with either.
No, and the fact that Resident Evil 4 was my choice coming in, but Metal Gear Solid 2 is such a good game that I'm not angry at it being above it. You know? Is it a perfect game? No.
I can point out all the flaws in. I'll be the first to admit all the flaws in Metal Gear Solid 2.
And there's flaws in Resident Evil 4 too. Don't get me wrong. Can't think of them. No, but there it is. Yeah, I can think of them. I mean, come on. There's some rough moments there. I mean, you get the slide puzzle with Ashley that just kills all momentum and all sorts of stuff.
I like the slide puzzle.
I hate that slide puzzle. Oh, I hate that slide puzzle.
I like puzzles like that. Anyway.
But yes, let's go over the list. The definitive list.
Number 29, Sonic Adventure 2. Number 28, Tomb Raider Underworld. Number 27, Dead Space. Number 26, Star Wars Republic Commando. Number 25, Observation. Congratulations, Observation. Top 25. You did it. The little engine that could.
Oh, Lord.
24, Psychonauts. 23, Bully. 22, Night Trap. 21, Parasite Eve. 20, Grim Fandango. 19, No More Heroes. 18, Vanquish. 17, Batman Arkham Asylum. 16, Dishonored. 15, Half-Life 2. 14, Alan Wake. 13, Sleeping Dogs. 12, Spec Ops The Line. 11, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Top 10. Number 10, Bioshock. Number 9, Metal Gear Solid. Number 8, Bastion. Number 7, Control. Number 6, Firewatch. Number 5, Undertale. Number 4, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Number 3, Life is Strange. Number 2, Resident Evil 4. And number 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty.
Good list of video games. There's very few bad games on that list.
I would say 2.
I would say, yeah, I could do it too. I would say 3, actually. One of them is in the top 10. But let's just choose violence before we leave.
This was fun.
This was a good discussion. Season 3 closes out. Season 4 will be kind of a revamp, relaunch. It's time for the new console.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been holding on to a new logo, which is exciting. So on your feed, not this episode, but your next episode, first episode of Season 4, will be a new logo, new design, all that fun stuff.
Props to
great.
Dual Moon Designs for the amazing logo.
Yes, looks very, very good. If you ever need a logo, maybe you
when I got that, I was so freaking excited going, I cannot wait to have this change.
Please make sure I put the social media in the first episode.
Yeah.
It won't be on this episode. It'll be on the next episode. I'll have for the new logo, and then we'll put that underneath there because it looks great. Looks really, really good. And it's going to be kind of a revamp thing. I guess we should go ahead and announce our first game. We'll be playing.
We're going back to a galaxy far, far away for this next one.
We're going back, but not too far back, because the last time we played a Star Wars game, it was an Xbox game. Now we're playing Fallen Order.
Yes. Way to bury the lead. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the next game for the show, because Jedi Survivor's coming out.
It's something we want to do with this next season is try to be a little bit more topical. Slash also, it's a good thing to play that because I remember a lot of Fallen Order, but it's been a few years since I played it. So it's good to go back and...
I played it when it came out. Then as soon as I was done, I went you my copy.
Yeah, you lent me your... dude, yeah, it's been... How long?
2019 since that game came out.
Yeah. Wow. I think I played that in 2019. Yeah, okay. Been a while. So I'm excited to play. I'm excited for Survival. I think all the trailers and stuff looks really, really good. We haven't seen any gameplay footage, really.
No, there was a lot of gameplay during the
We'll do the
Game
yeah,
Awards stuff.
It was some because
it showed a lot of the new lightsaber types.
Yeah, he was riding like a little ostrich looking guy. He was riding around on.
There's like a rogue type that does a flip off your back and kicks a stormtrooper in the face. It has the broadsword lightsaber type for like more heavy combos, and you have like the dual sabers that are a lot more faster. It seems like they're expanding that gameplay in a lot of interesting ways.
I've got to the point with Star Wars that I like what I like, and I don't try to engage with everything.
Yeah,
and that sounds hostile, and it's not, because there's stuff I really, really like. I like the war that Fallen Order, showed. I like that version of Star Wars that was in Fallen Order. There's been some Star Wars media recently that just hasn't appealed to me. It's not for me.
Yeah.
And I've learned not to try to engage in everything. I just engage in the stuff I care about.
Because the minute you try to engage with everything, you're going to find something you hate, and it's going to make you want to like pull your hair out. So engage with the stuff that seems to like interest you. The universe is so big. If you want to go back and stick with like the old legend stuff, you can totally do that.
Well, I think it also boils down to before there was so much of it.
Yeah.
You enjoyed every entry into that world you could get, right? Like Star Wars always had a ton of books and comics and stuff like that. But when there was only 6 movies, 3, then 6, then, when the new movie started coming out, you're like, new Star Wars. I got to engage with it because I like Star Wars. And now there's so much of it, you got to learn to just pick and choose what's for you and what you're interested in.
Pick a character and follow them through their new adventures.
Yeah. And I really liked Fallen Order. I think it will hold up. I hope it does. Especially
because we played it. I have a feeling this will end up being better than when we played it, because we played it early on when that game was a buggy mess.
Yeah.
Me more so than you. I had bosses T-posing on me.
Yeah, it was not didn't have as many issues as you did, but it was not a smooth running game for me. But
the next gen versions are out. We're probably going to be playing those.
Yeah, I'm playing that.
If you want to play along on PlayStation people, this is January's PlayStation Plus game. It just happened to work out this way.
Yeah, it works out.
This is January's PlayStation Plus game. It drops next Tuesday, I think. So you can totally have the time to like play that in that chunk in a week and a half, and we'll be here for the first part of Fallen Order in 2 weeks, which the stopping point for that will be leaving Kashyyyk.
That was something I wanted to ask you about.
Yes.
There is a portion of this game in which you can go multiple places at once, where you can go to 2 different places.
Yes.
So we're going to decide which one we are going to ahead of time.
Well, it doesn't break anything story-wise by like doing that in a particular order. The game is still structured relatively linearly. So maybe it's just because I'm forgetting this.
Yes. There's a breaking point in those 2 locations, then it comes back at the end, correct?
Well, it kind of loops back around. You get to a point where you can't advance any further. But you do get a upgrade item if you do that bit early. You get it sooner in the game.
I might be a little bit confused on the breaking point there, because I remembered, I was like, I thought it was almost like you go to this place and you go to this place.
You can go to you can go to a harder destination early, and the reward for that is you get an upgrade piece that would take longer to get to if you were to do the critical path.
Okay.
So you can do that.
Probably shouldn't. If it's your first playthrough.
Probably not. No.
But, yeah.
You might get distracted with a giant lizard for an hour and a half, which is also possible.
Possibly. That's a big problem, that giant lizard down there. There's like a dark side. There's like a Dark Souls boss at one point.
The moment you finish the Kashyyyk mission path, once you get there and to get to the point where the story has you leave the planet to go back to a previous one, that's where we're going to stop.
Okay.
This is the first. This will be a 3-parter.
I plan on starting to play this a little bit tonight. I'm looking forward to playing some.
I'm gonna wait till next Tuesday, but I have it marked for like time where I can definitely knock out this section.
I think it's gonna be enjoyable though.
Yes.
And then be ready for Jedi Survival, which comes out in March.
That comes out. Yeah, late March for that thing. It comes out the week before Resident Evil 4 remake.
Oh.
Yeah,
next
next year has some tough decisions to make. On the gameplay side of things, something better not come out in June because Street Fighter 6 is going to win that fight no matter what happens.
That's a good month then. March is looking pretty good.
March is looking pretty good. May has 2023 looking pretty good for video games. 2022 had some highlights for me, but 2023 seems all high for me.
It looks like it's going to be a good year.
So this is going to be a lot of fun. There's also a book coming out between the events of Fallen Order and Survivor.
Yeah, you said that you're excited. It comes out in March too, right?
Yeah, early March.
So it gives you enough time to read the book before the game.
Yeah,
that's pretty
funny.
Smart.
How that works out. Synergized marketing. Weird.
Synergized marketing.
It's like Disney knows how to do that sort of thing or something.
Well, and I'm okay with that in this particular circumstance because I like this character and I like this ward and I like the people that he's interacting with. So this is interesting because this is usually something that is my least favorite thing that they've really explored in Star Wars. The whole Jedi who survived the purge, because it was I was like, man, there's a lot of freaking Jedi who lived through this thing. I always thought that most of them died, but they do it really well here. It's good. I don't want to get too much in the story. StayTheSave at gmail.com, at StayTheSave on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We still got a Twitter. Has Elon banned us?
Not yet.
Damn it. Gotta try harder. As always, thank you guys for listening. It's been a great season. Please join us with the reboot. Don't be afraid when you see the new logo. It's still us. Okay. Thank you. Stay safe out there.